Hi friends from around the world. Today we want to talk about designs and trademarks. And trademarks, not any trademark, so we will not talk about the word mark or the figurative mark. We will talk about 3D marks, pattern marks, color marks, well, these kind of minority marks. The designs, well, the design, you know what a design is, and you know what a trademark is. One is for the shape of the product, the other is for indication of origin. And it may be a complementary protection. It may be that you are only on a fashion industry and you want protection for a year or so, or a year and a half at most. So you would go for design. You want to have a protection which lasting very long time. So your house mark, so to say, independently of the fashion you present every half a year, then you would go for trademark, that you have this more or less clear. And you know that the design have 25 years and you can obtain it very quickly. It is cheap, but is it strong enough? Are there others which may invalidate it very soon? Or is it better for a trademark which takes longer, is a bit more expensive? And it can have eternal life, so to say, if you renew it every 5 years, 10 years. Okay. A pattern mark. What is a pattern mark? A pattern mark is a special trademark which repeats a set of pattern. So whereas a 3D mark, for example, which is the shape of the product, you have to use the shape of the product in order to maintain, so to say, the protection. If you have a color mark, you do not need the shape of the color which has been presented to the trademark office. No, you can use the color as such on the product, and you should use the color as such on the product, but not what is the square you have made presented to the trademark office. And a pattern mark, the same thing. You may present, as you will see in a moment here, the pattern mark of Louis Vuitton. It is not that pattern mark, that square shape that you use. No, you use the pattern as such in whatever form the product may have afterwards. And you want to use it in that way in order to get the protection assured and have the use of the mark being done, so you can make oppositions and not being caught by the proof of use requirement afterwards. So there are some companies who go for designs, go for patents, not for trademarks, and may go for both in order to get a complementary protection. And if you want to be sure, sure you are never sure probably, but if you want to be play safe, you may want to take both ways. It is not too expensive to do it. Now let's come to the case, which is precisely a pattern mark of Louis Vuitton here on the screen. It is a pattern which is a checkerboard, so to say, it's called, and it is in beige and blue, and that's what it is. Now it was presented as an international registration. International registration, you know, that is through WIPO, Madrid Protocol, and the European Union is part of the Madrid Protocol. So you can go to WIPO, designate the European Union as one of the protected region in this case, and you get protection for the EU like as you would get protection for the EU trademark if you go directly to the European Union. But if you want to go to the European Union, so you want protection for European Union on one hand, but you want also for Switzerland and for Turkey and for Norway, then that would be a possibility to use the Madrid Protocol and go to WIPO, and then with one filing to get not only the EU, but these other countries where you're interested in also. So that was an international registration. The international registration has some particularities with the application procedure, is a bit longer, but at the end the protection is the same. So it is as if it is a European Union trademark. So this is the European Union trademark for these kind of goods. The suitcases and bags and etc., etc. So all these cases in, is it class 18, I think, of the Nice classification where it was registered. That was in 2008. Now imagine, so it was used as from then. Well, it is, probably you may have already come across this kind of pattern on the bags of Louis Vuitton. Anyway, it was used for 8 years, and then in 2015, an invalidity request was filed by a Polish individual against the European Union trademark for non-distinctiveness. You know, there's 7.1b of the European trademark regulation. So that is already a heavy situation, so to say, for Louis Vuitton. If you have made a heavy investment into this and you have a trademark protection, you have a trademark registration, right? So you do heavy investment into these kind of pattern on the goods which you may have sold, etc., for a high price. And then you get an invalidity request after 8 years and everything should be gone. Well, they relied on whatever, the human rights and I don't know what kind of treaties. Can't remember the treaties they alleged that have been infringed here. If it would come to the resolution that this is to be cancelled. But it's like this. There is the European trademark regulation has no expiry on the invalidity request. It can be done at any moment, after 20 years, after 40 years. It can be done at any moment, and this is what it is. So the boards of appeal and the cancellation division, they did not care much about these kind of arguments presented by Louis Vuitton. So the cancellation division, they came to the result that there was no distinctive character of this pattern for the consumers of the European Union. It is something that they would like just any bag. They may have some kind of characteristics which changes from bag to bag, but that does not mean that these characteristics may lead exactly to the owner, the producer of the bag, as an indication of origin. So they said no, that is non-distinctive. And then we came to acquired distinctiveness, and already. With regard to this pattern, which is not descriptive in one country and non-descriptive in another country, it is there's no descriptiveness here. It is just a pattern, and a pattern is perceived across the European Union in the same way, meaning that acquired distinctiveness must have been proven for the whole European Union, for each member state, so to say. So that is across Union, 27 member states. Evidence must have been presented so that the Louis Vuitton can overcome this requirement of acquired distinctiveness. So this is a heavy burden on Louis Vuitton, on the trademark owner, and it presented, well, a lot of, you can imagine, a lot of evidence from all kind of evidence, so invoices and market surveys and delivery notices and turnover figures and affidavits and, you know, all kind of things. And, well, you may imagine that the examiner was, at that case, overwhelmed. And the examiner then wants to make its life a bit easier, and it is called efficiency of proceedings. And what did he do? He grouped the member states into 3 groups and put the evidence in relation to each of the 3 groups. And then it looked at the, so to say, weakest group, to the weakest evidence with regard to that group in question, and came to the conclusion, well, if we take group number 3, well, in that case was number 3, if we take group number 3, the evidence does not prove the acquired distinctiveness in this group of countries. And it says, well, sorry, not acquired distinctiveness, I do not have to look into the other 2 groups, even if it is acquired distinctiveness has been proven. Well, still that group number 3 of countries is not proven, so that is sufficient to reject the acquired distinctiveness claim of Louis Vuitton. So this went to the Boards of Appeal, and the Boards of Appeal, more or less, they said, well, this is okay, and I will not go into this much further. And Louis Vuitton had to go to the General Court in order to get another opinion. And the General Court, in 50%, so to say, corroborated what the Boards of Appeal said, but there was one point there where they disagreed, and this was on the evidence for acquired distinctiveness. And what is the point here the General Court went into? Well, it is possible to make these 3 groups, so the efficiency of proceedings, to which I referred in probably in various videos now, is a measure, is a possibility the examiner or the Boards of Appeal they have in order to make their life easier. So not to to produce a decision of 100 pages each time where things get very complicated. No, they want to focus on what is important, and if this is important and is, so to say, fulfilled, then it is over with regard to the examination of the case, either in favor or against the applicant. So that is a possibility which exists. Now, with regard to the evidence, it is not, and that is an issue which should be taken to heart, is that the evidence should not be proven to each member state. So there must not be 27 sets of evidence for 27 member states. That is not the case. So don't be afraid to having to do that. Now, what is important here is that the General Court recognized that big companies and the big companies, they make or distribute their market differently than the country-wise, so they may group 2, 3, 4 countries into some region which they market in their way, and others in another, and South Europe and West Europe, whatever. Meaning that the evidence which is being presented may have some horizontal importance, so for 2, 3, 4, 10 member states or whatever. And the fact that the Boards of Appeal and the Cancellation Division before, they grouped this evidence to this kind of countries and this evidence to that kind of countries, and the third group has another set of evidence. This is not the right way to proceed. So it may well be that there is evidence which have horizontal, and that is one point also raised by Louis Vuitton in front of the General Court, and the General Court picked on that argument, that it has to be assessed horizontally, and those evidence which have a horizontal importance, they have to be assessed as such. So those evidence which are horizontal have not been assessed with regard to Group 3 countries, which was the group which has been assessed by the Boards of Appeal and the Cancellation Division. So the end result was that the Boards of Appeal decision has been annulled, and either the boards, they take another decision, or they remit back the case to the Cancellation Division for making that assessment and giving the then losing party another round for going up the appeal and to the General Court or the Court of Justice again.